But let's talk now about Bonnie Blue. No, I didn't think I'd be doing that, but she's a, well, they say porn actress. I think we should use the word, I think we should use the word prostitute and be a bit more honest about what it is. But Channel 4 have seen advertisers ditch them over their documentary about Bonnie Blue. She is a, quote, performer, and the title of the documentary came out last Tuesday. It was 1,000 Men and Me, the Bonnie Blue story. And basically it tells the story of how she, you know, in her OnlyFans account, basically had sex with 1,000 men in one day. Lovely. Not surprisingly, a lot of advertisers said when it went online, we'd rather not be associated with that. Isn't that a good thing? Advertisers actually understanding that's perhaps not a good thing to be associated with? Well, let's talk about this with Jo Bartosch. She's assistant editor at The Critic. She's also the co-author of the utterly brilliant and terrifying new book, which I've already had an advanced reading of, called Pornography, that is out in October. A very good morning to you, Jo.
Hello, lovely to be here.
I do want to mention a book of that. Well, I'm sorry, I've left us very little time. Apologies for this. But just tell us what this Bonnie Blue porn documentary was actually, what it showed and why the advertisers were unhappy.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite explicit. I mean, to me, I think the most troubling thing wasn't actually the fairly explicit sex scenes, which were shown. It was just what a sort of an emotionally empty, morally moribund porn zombie that woman is, and indeed all of the men who use her as well.
Well, yeah, she says she's not being used. She gets millions. Wasn't she on OnlyFans making £1 million a month?
Yeah, I know, which sort of begs the question, why does she need the support of Channel 4 to do a largely uncritical documentary? I mean, you know, they didn't sort of look into the harms that she was doing in any significant way. They didn't interview any of the men who were using her. And I do say using, I mean, essentially, you know, they put their penises inside her for 45 seconds and called it sex. I mean, you know, it's absolutely grotesque.
I mean, lucky her. I have to say, I mean, you are just reducing yourself to just, I'm sorry, you're just a number of holes at that point, aren't you? You're not a human being in any meaningful way when you're doing that. She says she's one of those young women, and we see this lots of young women who say, oh, well, I'm putting myself to university with OnlyFans. You know, I'm just, you know, masturbating or talking dirty, or I'm stripping, or what, I'm getting loads of men are paying me money. I'm empowered. It's my body. You're just Mary Whitehouse in with a different haircut. What's your problem, prude? That's what a lot of those young women think, and that's what Bonnie Blue would think.
Yeah, of course. You know, at their age, I may well have thought the same. I think.
And then we grew up.
Exactly. And then you sort of realise, oh God, no, actually, it's not just sex. It's actually sort of pretty fundamentally changing what it is to be human if you do that to yourself.
Why do you say that?
Well, I think what we are seeing now is a generation of young men in particular who are bonding with what they see on screen, and young women who think they are no more than, well, as Bonnie Blue herself says, a hole. And I think that's fundamentally destabilising. I think it sort of creates a real disjuncture between the sexes. I think it's what people are essentially now beginning to form even their identities on. I think a lot of the trans movement actually is informed by pornography as well. And I think, you know, when it comes to the government sort of panicking around Andrew Tate or around, you know, lessons on consent or any of these things, they are meaningless if you don't tackle pornography, because you have there not just a teacher of sexual scripts, but you have something that is reinforced by orgasm. So, you know, that's more powerful than your sort of slightly embarrassing middle-aged teacher going in and saying, you know, it's you know, maybe you want to think twice before you do anal sex.
Yeah, this is just like the teacher saying, you know, just say no about drugs. Well, that didn't turn out to work out very well. Yeah. But this is the thing, isn't it? It's turning sort of sex into a sort of an extreme sport. But and the young women, a lot of the young women think they're being empowered by it. They think, and again, I don't mean to be patronising, but yes, I'm 57 and I do know better than these. I'm sorry, you know, you live and learn over the years. And this is not them enjoying some casual sex, having fun and experiencing. This is them selling their bodies. And I don't think they often realise they're often selling their souls, because the evidence is really, really clear that the vast majority of women working in that world have either been sexually abused as a child or as a teen. They've had some bad experiences. They've been victims of sexual assault, and the rate of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and suicide is off the scale. So, you know, and then they say it's the same as waitressing. You know, if you use your body to go and carry a plate for someone, it's no different. Yeah, but I don't think you see the same numbers in people like me who work delivering pizzas.
No, I mean, the rate of PTSD is around about 70%, and that's comparable with combat veterans when it comes to the sex industry more widely. And we know that those who are drawn into it, will indeed be some girls like those who are groomed in Rotherham. It's, it's girls who have been damaged, it's girls who have been hurt who are doing this. And I think you get the odd exception like Bonnie Blue, who I think, frankly, is probably a bit of a sociopath, who, make it look as if it's okay. And the damage that she is doing by sort of pushing this model whereby girls are products and boys are consumers is quite grotesque, and we need to take action. So I'm really pleased that that companies have pulled out.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's people power. It's an awful lot of families, it's parents, it's mums saying, look, I don't want to use a product that wants to associate itself with this. We've seen money being used against advertising on radio or television stations. We've seen it being used on various products. This is to a certain extent people power working, isn't it? That they don't want to be associated with something that most people won't think is a good thing.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, having said that, when you look at the sort of numbers of men who use pornography, it is quite staggering. I think
and women as well.
Oh yes, but they use it in very different ways. So, if you dig into the detail, yes, a lot of women use it as well, but men are far more likely to use it on a regular basis and for a long period.
And I just want to say, your book, I was reading your book as a preview, and when the book is coming out, I want you and your co-author Rob Jessel to come on the show and have a really long conversation. I read your book. I had a knot in my stomach the entire time. The book is called Pornography, and it's about how pornography is changing our brains and is altering our society, altering our relationships. And if we don't pay attention and do something, we are in really serious danger. I think most parents have not a clue what their teenage sons and daughters are seeing and what they are expected to do when they are with a sexual partner. I think most people are completely blissfully ignorant, and that can't happen. We need them to know.
Yes, we do. Yeah, absolutely. And as I say, that's why I get so frustrated about the sort of the fuss around consent lessons, as if that's some sort of sticking plaster to what fundamental rupture of society.
Yeah. And everyone's a bit uncomfortable about saying things about it, but you need to talk to your children. I always say to everyone, go on Google, put the word porn, you probably can't unless you've got a VPN now, and then look at the first things and look at the first page. And when you see what comes up, call me, because you will be absolutely shocked. And by the way, put in a pre-order for Jo's new book, Pornography, out in October. It's absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Jo. Appreciate that.